all the events, and then they're basically ensuring that those play. Yes, it is very confusing. My
little bit.
my job is to ensure we're sending the best Americans. And if the best Americans aren't going to those events, then we need to reevaluate how we select players. And if that's a task that we need to do, then that was absolutely an agenda item that's going to be discussed.
Yeah, I mean, if the top players aren't going to events, the main reason is we got to find out why and fix that and get them to the main events. I'm assuming that a lot of it has to do with, paying their own way to events, the returns, things like that.
You mean for events like WCBS and things like that, Mike? Is that what you're referring to?
No, even other events beside that. I mean, the WCBS event, yeah, that's you're not getting paid.
Right.
So it doesn't surprise me a lot of people turn down.
Yeah, but I guess the average fan never hears that that they're turning it down. All they're seeing is that for the World Games we had Shane, Tyler, and Hunter, if I'm not mistaken.
Hunter.
Yeah. So, but they never hear the back end where, hey, listen, we're going down the list, and these guys are turning away. But on the point of the WCBS events, what exactly is that event? Because I follow pool pretty regularly, and I don't really got a clue. I know they just had one recently in Turkey. I still don't know who won exactly.
Yeah, I think one of the Asian teams won, and that was a brand new inaugural event.
Asia B won. Come on.
Yeah.
Go with the program, buddy.
It was an inaugural event to kind of piggyback that the concept was to go every summer after the World Games to replicate that look and feel of the World Games of having the four disciplines from hayball to carom to snooker and to pool. But one of the edicts coming out of the IOC is that they want to see more diversity. They want to see women competing against men. They want to see a team event. And so the thought process, putting that WCBS championship together, was to have men competing with women, have a team event. And so we did the Americas, we did Africa and the rest of the world, 2 Europes and 2 Asias. Just because, when you look at the Americas, it was hard to fill snooker spots. It was hard to fill, carom spots. In Africa and the rest of the world, it was hard to fill some of the carom spots. And it's just difficult because, again, because of that IOC recognition, Europe and Asia have a much different infrastructure because they're getting government funding. And so they're producing better talent than the rest of the world. And that was on hand clearly at the WCBS championship. But the thought of that producing that championship was to put all those tables in one room to showcase what it means to be a cueist and to showcase what it means to be a cue sport athlete in all disciplines and to promote the games as a whole and not just focus on one discipline.
And showcase it to who?
Yeah.
The people in Turkey.
Because nobody really saw it online. The job of marketing out of there was
well,
it's too, to say the least.
Well, it's too easy to pick on the WPA for lack of marketing and getting the word out there because that's been the bane of their existence as long as I can remember. And if there's one area that I think the WPA, needs to work on in terms of trying to generate more revenue and create, a better look and understanding of what you're supposed to be doing and how people benefit from it is the easiest play in the world, right?
Yes, and I mean, we have a whole new board of directors with Ian Anderson retiring.
You see his face. I keep seeing his face everywhere, though. When is it going to stop?
Well,
when is it going to stop?
He had a couple of projects, and he's still a WCBS board member. And he had a couple of projects. The WCBS Players Championship was one of his pet projects. The Qatar Open was one of his was one of his projects, and we just wanted him to see those projects to completion. The last thing you want to do is, hey, dump something else on my lap so I can do it half-heartedly. And so let these guys who started with that project finish the project through completion. And so that's where, Ian Anderson was still very instrumental. It was creating that WCBS championship and wrapping up the Qatar Open.
Yeah. Well, listen, I like Ian. Ian's a nice guy. He's been around a long time, but it seems to me apparent that, the WPA needs a little new blood and some young blood, and needs to scrap heap the entire infrastructure as we know it, and rebuild from the ground up. And I think that they need to make that painfully apparent to everyone through social media, through emails, through constant, contact, of what's happening and why. That seems to.
Well, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised with what's on the horizon. From some of the conversations that I've heard through the board level, creating certain portfolios for board members. We do have somebody in charge of marketing. We do have.
How old is that person?
Don't start bringing age into shit.
I know. I'm in a bad game with you two boys in that conversation.
Yeah, leave age out of it, because that's not my strong suit.
But to that, we can hire companies to do organic social marketing, and there's a lot of cool concepts that I've heard being approached at the WPA level on how we can promote players and how we can promote ourselves. We are currently restructuring a branding effort, and all that's going to start rolling out here within the next year or two.
It's not going to be prestigious if you don't make it prestigious. That's the thing. There's no incentive for these guys to go. I don't understand the incentive for companies to get behind it with the shitty job that the WCBS has done in marketing and promoting these events. It's just you're getting out of it what the effort you guys are putting into it. And I'm sure there's a lot that goes on in the back end when it comes to coordinating it. But if the people of even just avid pool fans, these are the diehards. You want to get them plus the millions of other fans to get involved with it, but you can't even get the diehards interested in it because of the job that's being done when it comes to marketing. And there's a lot of examples like that. Let me ask you a question. If you were to grade the WPA over the last 5 years, what grade would you give them?
You know what? That's, again, very interesting. When I took the role on the WPA board, I took a very studious approach. I wanted to just learn, what does the WPA do? And it's a learning curve for me. We're a governing body. We're not a promotions arm. We're not a marketing arm, and we're a bunch of volunteers. And so you depend on volunteers. You can only depend on volunteers so much. But I think we have the right group of people in place that care, not just about the WPA, but about the integrity of the game. So if we're going to give a grade to the past 5 years, I've been a board member for 3, so let's give it a solid B.
That was passing whenever I grew up, Shane. So that's all right.
Yeah, must have been a curve established in there someplace.
So what's the future looking like,
guys?
for
I hate to
WPA?
cut. Yeah, no.
No, I we'll get you out of here.
Yeah. I think it's strong. It's still complicated, right? As long as there's factions in the industry, there's still work to be done, and that to me is more important than anything. Of how do we get everybody at the same table and say what's in the best interest for not just a promotions company, not just the WPA, but what's in the best interest of the players. And if we can have people come to the table and have that open discussion, and everybody will say they want to have that discussion, that in my mind. And that's the auspice that we have to approach that negotiation under. Go ahead, Mike.
How do you feel that by making statements as 10 ball's more of a pro game? I've seen comments in the past talking about 4-inch pockets and and what's that had on the game, the gray cloth and the effect that's had on the game, and then now sanctioning events that are incorporating those same specs. How do you feel all those types of comments are going to be beneficial towards bridging that gap to help getting the train back on track for everybody?
Well, one, I never said 10 ball was the professional game. I think that was
Shane.
that came out of the media. Am I cutting out?
I think you should be cutting out.
No, I'm
No,
kidding.
you're still with us, buddy.
Yeah, we got nothing to say anyways. Just keep talking.
I see how that's going. Put in my mouth.
No, you're doing a great job, buddy.
I've put my foot in my mouth. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, no, just rolling with it. We know this ain't the easiest conversation to be had, and I think that a lot of with more conversations to be had publicly and more transparency and more, I don't want to say effort because I don't want to discredit the things that you guys are doing because we know there's a lot in the back end that goes on that people never see. But you can't if people aren't going to have the patience just because of if they don't know about it, right? All the work that you guys are doing to help kind of keep things together and coordinate but it's you got to do a better job of letting people know. You got to do a better job of communicating, whether it's the players like the Christinas and Federer and communications between you guys and those federations. There's got to be a higher standard. I feel like, and then with that, we'll Mike. I'll keep Mike off your ass for a little while. Are you still with the Shane, or did the internet die out again?
He's back there someplace.
He's chopping up on me, so I don't know if we'll be able to get him back. Yeah, maybe you might want to try refreshing. Mike, what's your take on all this, Mike? You've been doing this for quite a while.
It's a tough situation to be in. Like I said, there we go.
You there, Shane?
Let him say it.
You there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm here. Pretty quickly, okay. I am. I do need to cut it short here in a minute or so. But we'll I do want to say a proper goodbye. And I don't want to make sure like I didn't just completely duck you. And to your point, I think you're going to be pleasantly. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised with some of the marketing initiatives and some of the promotion initiatives that the WPA will start rolling out in the next year, because we realize that it's been it hasn't been our strong suit, right. But it's definitely as we speak. Just to highlight these players are getting recognized for their accomplishments, not just in one discipline, but in all the disciplines that they're participating in.
Well, Shane, I want to thank you for coming on and being a good sport. I know this isn't the easiest of conversations to be had, but I got faith in you, and more importantly, I got faith in us to be able to, hold you accountable or at least talk more publicly about it. But no, all jokes aside, you're doing a great job, and there's plenty of opportunity, and there's not many people that would come on here and have conversations like this with us. Mike, you got anything else?
No, I'm good. It was fun stuff, and there's just a lot to digest and a lot to try to figure out, and a lot, is there still time to get the promoters in the same boat, pulling the rope in the same direction? Is there an opportunity to get more money into the WPA and WCBS to create, paid people who actually can run this, run those offices successfully like they do in any other sport? Yeah. So, that's what I want to see going forward.
You're going to come on the show again, Shane, or is this going to be the last time we get you on here after this whole charade?
Well, I'm going to bob and weave a little. It's an honor to be on. I'm a big fan. So one of the things I'll continue to harp either from my role as the BCA. I want this to be as transparent as possible. And so if I can continue to come on and express that transparency, then just let me know what I can do, and I will.
No, and listen, we appreciate that. If you can hear us, we'll let you go.
I'll be more than glad.
Bueller. Yeah. We appreciate that, Shane. We'll let you get out of here if you can hear us, buddy. Mike, this was a pretty eye-opening conversation and pretty solid. I feel like I don't think we got every answer that we wanted. As my daughter's going off in the other room,
She
we're
wasn't
not
happy
getting.
with the discussion, apparently.
No, she's got pretty
She's a
high
tough
standards
critic.
herself.
Tough
Yeah.
critic. Yeah.
But no, it's I think it's a great first step, and it's such a new age in pool. A lot going on. Everything's more online more than ever. A lot more conversations are public. But you've told me in the past, Mike, there's the BCA is a necessary entity in pool, and so is WPA, right?
Yeah, I think WPA is a necessary, entity in the sport, and they just need to do a lot better job of defining what they are and what they're supposed to do, and backing up how they're doing that. So, I mean, we went through this whole hour plus, and I'm sure there's still a ton of people who want to know, listen, if I'm a promoter, if I'm a player, what does the WPA actually do for me? Right? That's the number one question that you always get
They'll
asked
give you
about.
that IOC
Yeah, there's a
correlation.
lot of arguments in
That'll be that
that direction,
response, right?
and there's a lot of truth to some of that. But they need to, going forward, as they kind of retool, they need to figure out what their purpose is. If they don't, I don't know if they actually have that figured out right now. Maybe it's different than it used to be, and they need to define that for everyone. What is our purpose? And this is how we're going to get there. And then they've got to figure out, from a business plan standpoint, to me, how do we make that happen? They can't make it happen with, like I said, everybody thinks they get zillions of dollars from these sanction fees. The WPA doesn't, right? They get a couple of percent, and realistically, someone mentioned it in here about, Matchroom takes when Matchroom was paying the WPA sanction fee, they were taking it out of the players' pockets, out of their prize money, which is ridiculous. So, but they weren't catching a lot of heat for that. But the WPA, everybody thinks that they're rolling in dough. They're not. They're volunteers. They don't have a real office anyways. They need to get that. Okay. They need to be funded to a certain extent. I had argued a couple of years ago, before there was this big rift, that Barry Hearn and Matchroom should basically, adopt the WPA as a stepchild and put them in an office down the street, and let them
but then
run
that would
the
be
pool.
looked at as a conflict of interest in and of itself.
Listen,
Mike.
Matchroom does this right now in snooker with the WPBSA. They're coattail cousins, and but the WPBSA gets a lot of money that they can run their offices through sponsorships and that type of thing through the professional snooker end of it. So there has to be some kind of funding for the WPA if it's going to be run correctly. I don't care what kind of business plan they develop, what kind of marketing strategy they develop. If there's no funding behind it, it's not going to go anyplace. You're still going to have a bunch of volunteers who, for a couple hours every month, are going to spend some time on WPA issues and get yelled at by everybody else. So, that to me
that's got to be a real shitty job to have, Mike.
It's horrible. So,
yeah.
And maybe there should be a lot more transparency about what they actually do take in.
Well, that'll buy patience if nothing else, Mike.
I'm sorry?
That'll buy patience if nothing else.
Yeah, it will. So, there's got to be, like I said, the two main things to me are they've got to establish their reason for being and what their objectives are. And two, figure out with the industry, with everybody, how this gets funded so that it gets done properly. Okay. It's going to cost an office. It's going to cost a full-time marketing person. It's going to cost a full-time director. It's going to cost this. It's going to cost that. Add that up. What is it? What do we have to raise? How do we do it? Then I think the WPA becomes relevant, and they can do a better job of explaining to people what they're here for and how they're helping. So, that's something that to me needs to be done.
You ever watch the movie Office Space, Mike?
Oh, yeah.
You might be a little too old. Okay, never mind. You're not too old, Mike. All right. Well, there's a very funny scene in that movie where you're having a meeting with the Bobs, and he says, "You know what? What would you say you do here?" So
exactly.
So,
well, if you could tell me what you do here by Friday, that'd be great.
right. One of my favorite movies actually still cracks me up. No, listen, we thoroughly appreciate Shane for coming on, and it's not. I don't want to be known as sharing rumors. I like going straight to the horse's mouth when it comes to things. Now there was a lot of things to discuss, a lot of things that we touch base on, but we can get more in depth, and I feel like we will over the coming months. This was more of that first step with them, and you know, I would still extend that invite to guys like Aishan, the president of the WPA, and others that are involved on the board to come on and continue having more discussions. So I think I'd like to believe fundamentally that everybody wants pool to go in the right direction, but like we started off this conversation, there's a lot of egos in the game, and it's tough to kind of overcome. I feel like so. Anyhow, Mike, this was a pretty good show, man. I'm glad to have you back.
Yeah,
I'm glad to have
fun
you on
stuff.
with it as well. So,
Yeah.
just a heads up, we got some more stuff. I'm going to be live again tonight at around 7 o'clock Central. I got this team from Odessa, Texas, that was a part of the BEF, and we're going to surprise them with something pretty cool. So you guys are going to want to tune in for that. I got Josh McConney, 9-ball winner of the BEF, was going to come on, I think, tomorrow afternoon. Along with that, I reached out to Tony to talk about his upcoming match with Federer. So hopefully we can get Tony on next
Boy,
week.
Federer
Mike,
smoked Dennis, huh? RoboCop got
like he
drubbed.
stole something. Like he stole something, Mike.
He completely
Well,
stole.
well, yeah. Way to kill your action, son. You could have kept it a little close. Well, thanks for everybody for tuning in. We'll be live a lot over the coming days, and I think even Joey might be able to come on as well over the next couple of days. So we will see you guys soon, and thanks a lot for stopping by.